So you vape a lot. I'm a big fan of your secondhand smoke and the crazy flavors you find. Is vaping an essential service? Can you still get whatever vapes?
Vaping is not an essential service.
What?
No. Yeah. Well, see, I don't know.
Black market though, or like what are you doing? You're out on the streets, cooking at home.
I've thought about that.
All right, so we can get into the list. So top 10 Kiss songs of all time. So at number 10, you have Christine 16. Why?
I think because it's not really a favorite song. I felt it was more of a noteworthy song. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't really think too much of it when I was like a 14-year-old listening to it. But now, as a grown adult listening to it, you realize that like Gene Simmons utters some of the creepiest words that have ever been uttered in all of rock and roll.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of controversy about this song. Gene has a long, twisted history with these type of lyrics. And I was like going through forums about people's opinion on this, and technically 16 is the age of consent in 33 U.S. states. So depending on where Gene is, it's illegal or not.
I mean, yeah, people can make that argument. But like at the same time, it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, he's a creepy guy. There's no denying it.
He's a creepy guy.
Yeah, well, it's a catchy song that creeps everyone out. So moving on. At number 9, you have Hard Luck Woman.
If never I met you, I never have seen you cry. If not for offers, hello, we never have to say goodbye.
It's just a great song, man.
So what do you love about this song?
Just really sounds nice. I've played it for a really long time. I learned how to play it a long time ago, and it's just like, I don't know, it always kind of stuck to me.
Are you going to cover this on Instagram anytime soon?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, possibly. You never know. Never know what I'm going to do next.
Okay. Another thing about this song that's worth mentioning is it's the lead single from Rock and Roll Over, and the previous single was Beth. And so that's the reason. Like they have Beth, with Peter Criss singing, which is like a huge hit. They're like, oh, we need another Peter song. And so they lead with this one. And it does pretty good. It gets to 15 on the US charts, but not quite as good as Beth. Okay, moving on. Number 8, Rock and Roll All Night.
There we go. I mean, that song to me was like the first, and I mean, I am aware that the studio recorded version does not have a guitar solo, but every single live version of the song does, and that's what I'm talking about when I say this. I learned the Rock and Roll All Night guitar solo. That was my first one. And so that's basically why it's on the list, is that it's like I've always been pretty heavily connected to that song.
Awesome. So a bit of history for this one. So this is actually their first hit. It first came out on Dress to Kill, but it only charted at 68, which is not very good for them, not what they were hoping. And then they re-recorded it on Alive, and that's the one that went to 12, which is a big hit. And that's the version that has the guitar solo that you're talking about. And yeah, this is basically the song that saved Kiss. If this wasn't a hit, they probably would have broken up. All right, number 7, you got Heaven's on Fire. This is off Animalize. It's the only album Mark St. John plays on. He's only played 3 shows with the band, and it's in that weird period between firing Vinnie Vincent and hiring Bruce Kulick.
Well, I mean, I guess it's, Heaven's on Fire. It's just a real classic kind of 80s track. I mean, I'm a real big fan of like the way Paul Stanley kind of sings and the way he kind of carries himself, and like something about that song, it just kicks it in.
Totally. This is like the beginnings kind of like epic Paul Stanley vocals, like where he's just in the 80s and he's just like reaching for those insane high notes.
The time that he could do all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And this is one of the songs. Like, this is a technically difficult song to sing, I would say. And it's still in the set. And so I'm assuming when they play it live, it's just a MacBook Pro or whatever. No way is he attempting this in a live setting. All right, moving on. So, at number 6, Lick It Up.
Lick it up, lick it up. Whoa, it's only right now. Lick it up. Whoa.
So I'm a big fan of the Vinnie Vincent era.
Yeah. This is written by Paul Stanley and Vinnie Vincent. So Vinnie writes this song too. And Vinnie has claimed for a long time that Paul didn't actually write it, even though that it's credited to Paul and Vinnie, but he is a liar, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But he claims most of Lick It Up, the album, and this song in particular, he wrote completely. This is like the first single they released without the makeup. So, you get that big MTV special where they kind of reveal what they look like, and you get this video where just Gene looks creepy as hell. You're like, oh God, put the makeup back on. He's so creepy looking.
Yeah.
They're all just weird looking.
Gene's always the ugliest.
Yeah. Correct. Okay, moving on. At number 5, you have God of Thunder.
You've got something about you. And you got something to need.
It's originally written by Paul Stanley, but the producer Bob Ezrin forced Paul to let Gene sing it because he felt it just fit Gene's voice better. Obviously, a great decision.
Totally. I would agree with that.
This is kind of thought to be the Gene Simmons theme song. It's usually where he does his bass solo, spits blood. Did he play it at the show you went to?
Yeah, he did. And he did do that big giant bass solo where he flew up to the top and chewed on the blood packets and spat it all out and everything. And it was pretty cool.
Moving on. So at number 4, Black Diamond.
Black Diamond. Love this song. It's just a banger, right?
Absolutely. Written by Paul Stanley on the self-titled album. It's famously covered also by The Replacements, by The Hold Steady, a lot of other bands, but really the original is the best version.
Yeah.
It's an epic song. It's got like a super cool intro, amazing vocal performance, and a pretty cool riff in that chorus. Cool. Moving on. So number 3, Detroit Rock City.
Right, classic. That one, it was kind of overproduced, and a lot of it was like written by producers. Certainly, Ace didn't write the solo at all, and it turned out to be his most famous one.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't really like the solo that much compared. It's not my favorite solo.
Totally.
Do you like it though, or?
Well, I think it's obviously pretty basic. It serves a purpose. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like it serves a musical purpose more than it does a showy purpose. And not that like you can copy and paste or cut and paste any one of Ace Frehley's guitar solos out of any song. And so long as you got the right key, they're more or less going to sound exactly the same. He's got like 2 moves in his arsenal, and then, you know.
So this song is written by Paul Stanley and Bob Ezrin, the producer of Destroyer. It's about Kiss fans driving to see them and dying on their way to the show. It originally came out as a single with the B-side being Beth, and it failed as a single, but then everyone played the B-side, and Beth was super successful. So although it never charted in the US, the B-side of it is one of their highest charting songs of all time. Moving on. So at number 2, Shock Me.
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, learning how to play guitar on my Epiphone Les Paul that I looked up to Ace Frehley for playing the same sort of guitar in his 3 humbucker pickup Gibson Les Paul. So I don't know, I really liked Shock Me. I mean, I grew up after high school. I was an electrician for a couple of years, and so the idea that there was this song about getting shocked.
Yeah. So Wikipedia says Ace wrote the song about a show where he put his hand on a metal staircase that was part of their stage show, and it was not grounded, and it electrocuted him and shot him, like literally threw him off the stairs, and it delayed the show 30 minutes, but he still got out after that and played it with his hands all numb, and then he wrote the song about it.
Ace Frehley, what a guy.
All right, number one, drum roll. The best Kiss song of all time is Love Gun.
I really love you, baby. I love what you got. Let's get together, we can get high. No more tomorrow, baby. Tell me today, girl, I can make you feel okay.
Hell yes, it is. I mean, how can you argue, right? Like, Paul Stanley, he writes ripping, fast, hard rock and roll song with a kick-ass guitar solo, and all of it is about his dick.
Yeah.
Like, the whole song is, what can you do?
Like you said, Paul Stanley cites this as his favorite Kiss song. He wrote it, arranged it, produced it. I think, like, honestly, this song, he often says, like, Rock and Roll All Night is the Kiss anthem, but I feel like really it's this one.
100%, man.
All right, so moving on, we can talk about your band and my band, Bare Minimums. So we have a new single coming out, Bone Storm, out May 15th. And this is the first not cover, original song we've released with you on it. How does it feel?
It feels pretty cool. Since joining up with you guys, it has been a kind of hit the ground running sort of situation where it's like, okay, we wrote the first song of, we've been writing ever since I started with you guys, and so it's kind of been really go, and I like it. I like that. It's keep me on my toes.
So I was going to ask you, so we wrote a bunch of different songs. We have a few kind of on the shelf ready to go, a few that are kind of like various degrees of finished. Is this the first song you have wanted the people to hear?
I think so. I do. I think so but this was the first one of the new batch of tunes that really made me think like, oh fuck, okay, like we're settling in now to kind of a groove, and we sort of have a bit of an established dynamic that we can move forward with. And Bone Storm's a great example of what to expect, but in the same way not. Like it's indicative of a stylistic evolution, I think, as well as also being like, I think, true to that sort of intensity and ferocity that you were known for having in your previous records.
Let's talk about. So you play bass on this one primarily. What do you think? You have a pretty cool walking bass line in the chorus. Can you kind of be a nerd and talk about kind of your bass parts and your choices on the bass in this one?
Sure. You had kind of had this idea for a little bit more of a straightforward kind of just backing bass note to the chords rather that are being played during the chorus, which to me it almost felt, I don't want to say empty, but it did kind of, it felt like there was something missing. There was like a spot to be filled. I just kind of, and I started like kind of humming this little kind of counter melody in my head, and I thought, oh, well, that might work. And so I started, as I would play the song over and over. We had like a live version that I could play through my computer. Yeah, I just started kind of noodling around with trying to fill the space. I don't know. It turned out to work. Like, I mean, it passed the CAM test, which is the crucial test that things need to pass. So.
Yeah, you good? Yeah, it's a good job. I've heard many compliments. Okay, moving on. Who is your favorite member of Bare Minimum?
Who is my favorite member of Bare Minimum?
Pastor
Alan.
Good answer. My favorite too. All right. Well, thank you, Donnie. Thank you so much for letting your own band interview you.
Thank you very much for interviewing your own bass player.